Robinhood reported earnings and saw a magnificent pop thanks to crypto. If you listen closely, you can hear the GameStop crowd screaming in the middle distance about how you shouldn't use Robinhood because they can turn off the buy button at any time. But more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents. I'm Vince, your host, and this is the weekly podcast about crypto and blockchain with people that actually work in crypto and blockchain. No shilling, no FOMO, just information that's relevant to you. Think of us like a fresh install of a new smartphone. We give you the key features and then we send you on your merry way to crush it in the crypto world. Today, I'm joined by Katya from the Mew team.
Hi, Vince.
And special guest Brian from My Ether Wallet.
Hello.
So before we talk about Robinhood and them absolutely crushing it with crypto, let's talk about FTX. Let's talk about one of the most horrific failures in crypto, FTX, the collapse. But more importantly, the repayments have started going out this week, February 18th, something to the tune of $1.2 billion in repayments have started, specifically for people under 50,000, according to Cointelegraph. Katya, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, one of the most interesting things that I saw about it is how now people are saying 1.2 billion, it's not going to be paid out right away. It's eventually is going back out there. And, you know, maybe we can expect reinvestment in crypto. And that was funny to me because so these people, for a second, I thought that's ridiculous. However, some of the best books on economics out there talk about how people are not rational in the decisions that they make about their money or anything else, but about money specifically. And maybe the logic is not going to be, this horrible thing happened, thank God it got resolved, I'm never going there again. Maybe it'll be, well, this turned out well in the end. Maybe I'll do it again. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, because I'm not sure how I would do if I was in that situation.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about like how I would respond to getting that money back. I feel like a number of these people are gonna be like, "Ooh, I've been burned, and I don't want to be burned again." I didn't even think about that. Brian, what's your knee-jerk reaction to all this?
I mean, I'm glad some folks are going to get repaid. I'm glad people are going to get a little something back from all of this. But you know, they're getting paid back at November 11th, 2022 prices, which for reference I think was about $17,000 per Bitcoin for a Bitcoin at the time of crash. And if I had been forced essentially to hold my Bitcoin that long and not to see those returns, if I was if I'm holding Bitcoin, I'm not being paid back in Bitcoin, I'm probably going to be a little irked. Possibly more than a little. And when you talk about like, what was the number? 1.2 billion dollars are being repaid back. It's like, I mean, that's not even a particularly impressive meme coin launch at this stage in the game. I mean, we've come, lots of things have changed since the FTX crash, to the point where like FTX, while being one of the biggest and most notorious crash like incidents and failures in crypto at the time, seems relatively small in comparison today. So when you're talking about, maybe some of these $1.4 billion payouts will go back into crypto, I think most of the, and I think you're seeing it right now, like you think you're seeing the industry in the process of shrugging. Like it's not going to move the needle all that much.
Well, I think also Brian here is demonstrating another well-known psychological quality of humans, which is quick adjustment to anything good and resuming of complaining immediately upon receipt, or because like just the idea of getting anything back out of a crypto rug or out of a crypto failure is kind of fairly unique in the space in itself.
It's not. I mean, yeah, that's true. It's not unprecedented, but also I would quibble on the complaining. I'm not complaining, but it's true. Yes, I'm anchored. I value. I think in behavioral economics, one values their losses at something like 5 or 10x what they do their gains.
To the gains,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, though they're not my personal losses or gains. Dodge that.
So do you think, like, because I agree, like, people are going to be burned and they're going to be excited to get some money back. How many of these people are turned off from crypto for forever? Or do we think people will be like, why not? Like, let me dabble again.
I would be very surprised if a lot of them weren't already still in crypto. I think it'd probably be really, I mean, a few years have passed now. And the idea that most of these people had everything, all of their crypto holdings on this one exchange, I'm sure probably many did. But, I think that there is always been people who were burned by FTX still in crypto. I know anecdotally because I've talked to some of them. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of them, and though in the circles we run inside the crypto industry, you meet a lot of colorful characters and a lot of people who will just be like, well, those are the breaks. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. They got me this time. And I don't think that overwhelmingly, I don't feel like overwhelmingly that's the sentiment. Overwhelmingly, a lot of people in FTX, like from FTX, because of how high their profile was at the time, were either first-time holders of crypto or more traditional traders who were just getting into crypto, and this was their first burn. I feel like a lot of those people, if they're coming back, they're going to be a lot more cautious this time, and they're not going to go as hard as they did the first time. So I think it's still a net loss. I think it's still going to be a net loss, at least on like those users and their tolerance for exposure to crypto.
I mean, I think there are a lot of things that people are not going to learn from FTX. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm 100% certain people are not going to learn is what we in the self-custody space always hope people will learn, that centralized is different from decentralized and exchange custody is different from self-custody. But like I said, I'm 100% certain that no overflow will come to the self-custody space from people who got burned on FTX and going to put it right back into another centralized platform, I'm sure.
I do think it's also a interesting badge of honor and rite of passage to lose money in crypto, whether it's a rug or losing a seed phrase. And that sounds like you've had that as well, Brad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Vince. I'm glad we're not in the same room because I tend to when people say that, I like to I want to throw them out the closest window. It is not a rite of passage. You do not have to lose money in crypto.
True.
You don't have to. You don't have to lose. You don't have to be scammed. You
but
don't have to lose
everyone
your
eventually
keys.
Does. I feel like on a long enough timeline.
I think people you lose in any sort of investment scenario, but there are ways of losing in crypto that just haven't existed in other forms of investment. Since the railroad stock scams of the Gilded Age. But we, I think at some point we who have weathered the the winters and the upswings in crypto, and then high and low, like have to like shake off our cynicism and stop acting like this is just part of the game, because it doesn't need to be part of the game.
I agree. It doesn't need to be part of the game, but it certainly feels a little bit like it.
I mean, it does make you feel better to be like, well,
got that out of the way, right?
Earned my stripes on that one.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's move along, shall we? So $1.2 billion being paid back to FTX, but let's talk about this $4.4 billion rug pull from the Argentinian meme coin, which is insane. So we don't need to get into like the specifics of yet another meme coin, but I kind of want your guys' sense on what this means on a macro scale when we see countries getting involved with meme coins and just erasing $4 billion out of thin air. Katya?
Well, I just want to point out your word choice on saying $4.4 billion rugged by a president, and then you said just another meme coin. This is what we come to expect from meme coins. But I also think it's fascinating kind of... this is a second meme coin. Not exactly the same as Trump's, not by a president, but promoted by a president. So close. So in short succession, right? Since Trump's coin went out during the elections. And I think the difference in response is delightful. Kind of Trump released a meme coin and moved the markets, and things crashed and didn't crash. And, and we were like, well, that's fun. It's par for the course, for us here in the United States. And, with this meme coin, he's being impeached. He's, like people are calling him a crypto scammer. And it's just a lot of ugliness. I think it's interesting to see kind of the contrast of how we took it in stride here. I guess maybe people didn't lose 4.4 billion. So that's the difference.
Yeah, for me, I kind of feel like I'm hoping, and maybe this is just the optimist in me, this is like the straw that breaks the camel's back of meme coins, where it's like this one is like...
I was wondering whether you're going to say the straw that breaks the camel's back of Solana, but I don't know how you feel.
No, definitely. I'm not going to take pot shots at Solana specifically, but I mean, that
it doesn't deserve it in this case. I also think it doesn't, yeah.
It just enables the meme coins. But I kind of hope that because there's been such rancor and like disgust on this one, that I'm hoping we see a shift away from meme coins. I kind of doubt it, but I'm just hopeful that eventually there's going to be the black swan that does that in. But Brian looks like he has a lot of opinions.
I don't feel like this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but it might break the cycle. It might be the end of this cycle. Meme coins aren't going anywhere. This is going to be a part, like until there's some sort of like crackdown somewhere. I think people are going to keep going to the casino. There's this argument that, this is different. This is different from other meme coins because it was promoted ostensibly by a president for the purposes of, bootstrapping the Argentinian economy and, revitalizing it and bringing it into the 21st century and blah, 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 blah. I think that's a little bit overblown as to like how this was promoted. This is promoted via tweets. And so I do think that they were taken. I do think like I do think that the majority of people who came in, given how fast it was, these people were meme coiners.
Yep.
These are people who knew what they were doing. The reason Solana got shut down during Trump because there was a lot of people who didn't know what they were doing coming in and trying to join the pack. That doesn't seem to have happened here. I think that like the people coming in were a lot of mostly the usual suspects. Probably more Argentinians than on average, but there's a strong crypto population in Argentina already. So there's no shortage of meme coiners who are already situated there. So I don't think that this is going to be like this is, and you could kind of see it in the market. I mean, so much value had already left the meme coin markets after that. In the weeks post Trump, I can't believe we're talking about this in a matter of weeks.
It's crazy.
But and that's why you didn't see this huge shift in the market. It was a big scandal. It was a big scandal, but you didn't really see it in the markets too much because the ripple effects were, orders of magnitude smaller. So this was fairly isolated, but I do think that this will probably disenfranchise a lot of people who see potential for meme coins outside of just being an opportunity to gamble. I think that's going to toss a little bit of water on that fire, and people are just going to treat meme coins for what they were always designed to be: jokes, jokes that make you money or lose you money. And so it might be the end of this, like meme coins being the dominant cycle, and we can kind of get back to fundamentals, but who knows? But I think that's the most you can hope for. I don't think meme coins are going away anytime soon. Some people are just far, far too into them.
Yeah. I do think that there needs to be something that occurs that shifts the narrative, because you're right. Meme coins, the casino is never going away, but the general consensus of like what are the products that people are building that are not just tokenomics, as Katya quoted last week, which I loved. But yeah, we need to change what the story is, and I think it's going to take a lot to do that. So,
yeah, agreed.
Changing the story then and talking kind of about like oversight and what will fix this, and it's fitting that we have Brian here today, because another Brian, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Quintens? Is Quintens, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Currently, the head of policy at A16 has been tapped to head the CFTC. And so A16Z is, of course, the well-known VC, Andreessen Horowitz. So we all think that there needs to be more oversight of crypto. Am I correct in this assumption, guys, or am I starting from a bad place?
Are you talking about everybody on this podcast, or are you talking about everybody in crypto?
Everyone on this podcast.
Okay.
Talking to you two right now.
I mean, let's go with yes. Yes.
Okay. So Brian doesn't know. Katya, yeah.
I mean, I think there's a wide range of what people understand to be oversight, even among those who agree that there should be oversight. So, I myself admit that I am challenged sometimes by reconciling the fact that I definitely believe there should be clarity from regulators and governments about crypto. But I also definitely think that self-custody in crypto has to be a thing and remain a thing forever, indefinitely. So there are numerous occasions on which reconciling those two beliefs is problematic. And that's just how I live. Just.
I think that Katya hits on something that I think that if we're all honest, this is very common. We are constantly in a state of crypto needs more regulatory clarity, but no, not like that.
True.
And there's a lot of no, not like that. It's not the clarity that we want. We want the regulatory that makes it clear that we can continue to do what we're doing the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not how regulatory bodies work.
Yeah, I guess clarity is more what I'm looking for. I think you're right. Like, oversight is not what I want. I want clarity, but also not like that. But do we think that Trump is tapping good people in this choice and in all his choices, or I don't know, because for me, one thing that because we interact with people from A16Z with relative frequency, they definitely seem very much focused on the VC of it all, making sure that their investors and their company makes a lot of money. I don't really know if this is probably the right move for who I want to see being brought in, but that's kind of me. What about you guys?
I mean, I see people getting excited just by the sheer fact that these are people who know what crypto is, for lack of a better description, who are familiar with the space, who have leaned in. Yes, what are the reasons for their leaning in? May not, well, it is clear. Money is always the reason for leaning in. But, at least they are familiar. At least they know the space. They are not, at least, definitely opposed to it. So I think that's where the excitement comes from. But it's a little bit of the issue that came up around Trump's election about one issue voting for crypto people, that some people were willing to vote for him just because he said he's pro-crypto, disregarding any kind of other policies or positions he may have that are or not relevant to you as a person. So I think it's a little bit more of that. Oh, yay, a person who has crypto in their job description. When, so a little bit of that.
I think that's actually probably the best thing that we can hope for from any appointment like this. You folks know because you've talked to me, but I mean, I don't believe in the existence of pro-crypto. And if, I'll be speaking more about that in my talk. There's no such thing as pro-crypto, and it's a good thing too, at ETH Denver on March 1st.
Can you give us a little sneak peek of what you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is that crypto is not a single product, and it is not a single value set. It doesn't represent a single value set. As many of the dominant narratives reflect certain particular political ideologies and views upon markets and regulation, that is not what crypto is. It's simply the loudest voices in the room. And so it's no more bound to a particular political slant than the internet is. People use the internet for, I said internet like a boomer. Well, people use internet.
The World Wide Web.
The information superhighway to get where they want to go. But anybody can use it, and certain voices dominate, but it's essentially not there to promote any one specific thing. And so getting back to this, A16Z has bankrolled a great number of the most prominent projects in the crypto space, particularly here in the U.S. But globally, they have their hands in a little bit of everything, and so obviously their people are going to be very knowledgeable about the space and what kinds of what's going to be needed to help those projects succeed. And they cast a wide net, and so there's going to be a lot of viewpoints that they're going to be able to they're going to be able to represent better than other folks. But at the end of the day, the idea of pro-crypto is a particular market position. What we consider pro-crypto, particularly here in the U.S., is a particular market position that benefits large centralized players. And that's kind of the best that we can kind of hope for from an appointment like this, that this is going to be serve the interests of large centralized players who are making a lot of money on crypto and wish to continue to do so and potentially make a whole lot more. Decide for yourself whether or not you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's not going to be it's not going to be beneficial necessarily. We should not expect it to be beneficial to all crypto applications as a whole, because we are not a monolith, as much as we like to pretend that we are. And if you want me to go more in depth on this, come to my talk at
Brian,
ETH
there's
Denver
no shilling. There's no shilling on this podcast. What are you
I'm not shilling. I'm inviting.
Oh, okay. Inviting. Okay. No, I mean.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to the invitation, Brian. I won't be there, but maybe I'll get to see it on streaming. But yeah, I thought about this quite a bit around the time of the election, and there was a lot of attention to Vitalik Buterin's post in a similar vein about one-issue voting, and I think just from a less formal and more kind of human perspective, I think it does a disservice to the crypto industry for it to be seen from the outside as a monolith, as you say, of people who just want one particular thing. Because, I work in crypto. I feel enthusiastic about some aspects of it. I feel very downcast about some other aspects of it. But aside from those opinions that I have on crypto, I'm also, a woman, a mother, a Ukrainian, an immigrant in the past, lots and lots of things that do not detract from me also being a person who works in crypto and who is highly interested in and there's so many people like that in the space that to be seen as people who just, who want this kind of regulation, or who don't want this kind of regulation, or who want to avoid paying taxes or whatever it is a disservice to the space, to the people in the space, and to the progress of the space as a whole.
Speaking to the progress of the space, something that I feel like we definitely don't do, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, is we are not necessarily, as the crypto industry, fostering the next generation of policymakers that are well versed on policy as well as the tech itself. I feel like when it comes, and this is true across tech across the board, it's either someone that is cut their teeth in tech and startups and is cool, now I'm gonna go try and do government stuff. Or it's some old white dude that doesn't know how to attach a PDF being tell me how to send a Bitcoin. And I kind of feel like we as an industry need to kind of invest in fostering that secession leadership that will actually can exist in both worlds and speak to both of them without being lopsided.
I agree with you. It's very difficult, though, I think, to get people. Our industry, as of yet, has not attracted a lot of people who are necessarily interested in these sorts of public service roles. My ideal person who is regulating crypto is somebody who got their first wallet in college, and then got out and started clerking for went out immediately and started clerking for congressman or running for school board, somebody who always had this kind of this idea that where crypto is they're part of their lives and part of their identity, but not their primary driving force, because you tend to get tunnel vision there. Crypto is not one issue. You can't be a single issue crypto voter because crypto is not a single issue. And I think that's fundamentally what we've gotten wrong this last cycle in terms of messaging. And as a result of that, crypto policymakers should not simply be focused on any one particular aspect of crypto, but have a more broad, nuanced view of how it affects people's lives, how it affects an immigrant's life, how it affects a mother or a father's life, how it affects public policy, how it manifests in individual communities, and it's not just, because right now the way it exists in a lot of people's minds is just like, how it's affecting Robinhood's profits.
Thanks for the segue.
No problem.
I just wanted to add that, importantly, it's important to point out also that those are not mythical unicorns, these people you describe. They exist.
Yes.
We know some of them personally. Hi, Brian. And, these people exist. It is possible to have had a wallet and to be super aware of crypto and to be quite skilled at doing whatever you need to do, and at the same time being interested in public policy, being a normal person who doesn't spend 10 hours a day degenning on discords and whatever, has a real job. These people do exist. We exist in the crypto space, so it's not something strange and incredible and fantasy, but there is a cohort of us here.
Points to herself for those listening on audio only. So let's talk about Robinhood, since Brian set me up for that wonderful, wonderful transition, and then Katya, in true Katya fashion, cut me off. So yes, Robinhood reported, and they saw their crypto revenue just account for 35% of the revenue of Robinhood for the quarter, which is crazy to me. As a Robinhood user, I do not obviously use their platform for anything to do with crypto, but I've looked at it. Obviously. But it's super interesting to me because the only thing that people are doing on Robinhood is pure speculation, right? They're speculating on Solana, they're doing Ethereum and Bitcoin and some of the other things, but they're not actively trading necessarily. They're not doing meme coins. These are just kind of the run-of-the-mill investor that wants to do a speculative asset, which is fascinating to me that these people continue to come into the space. And as we see price action, of course, that just drives more and more and more people coming into the space. But I'm happy for Robinhood. I think they make cool products. But I'm just blown away that this makes up such a significant portion of their revenue. Katya, what's your reaction to all this?
Well, the Robinhood news was also accompanied by the news of Coinbase's incredible doubled revenue from last year, and I think if you take net income, it's 20 times something, a really big difference. And I don't know, the big centralized players are killing it, obviously, and it's a testament to I guess the easy onboarding that they provide, the very centralized. I mean, it's not very different from any other, as you say, it's just another asset to trade, and not so very different from any kind of other stock in the way that they handle it, especially Robinhood. So, but I don't know what to say. It works, obviously. It works. What can you say? They did it. Hey.
Good for them.
I do kind of wonder. I haven't dug into actually how their users are interacting with crypto, because I know they have a wallet, but this is I'm assuming their earnings are primarily simply on their trading fees, and so I think what's interesting about that is when you talk about people coming into the space, obviously Robinhood is retail facing. That's what it's meant for. That's why it's so popular. But are people who are trading on Robinhood in the space? How are they entering the space, or is it simply just speculation of numbers on a screen within an application that they are already using? You see, you want to go after something with a little bit more volatility. Higher risk, higher reward, then, having those alongside traditional stocks Robinhood makes that easy for you. So I'm a little bit more interested in actually Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is actually, Coinbase's revenue has doubled. That because they're exclusively in crypto, that could be attributed very heavily to price action. not necessarily like numbers of people entering the space. But I do think that that's interesting because those people are definitely in the space. Those people are definitely here for crypto. They have a very popular non-custodial option that makes it like they feed in, like Coinbase feeds into other, like does onboarding into other non-custodial options, my Ether wallet being one of them. Full disclosure, those are like those kinds of, so people who are in Coinbase and on one level or another are in the space. And it's interesting to see, like, to kind of put these two things in conversation, because while they are both centralized ways that users can interact with crypto, they manifest in very, very different ways, and allow for a lot, like very, very kinds of different user interactions within their respective products. So it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that like Robinhood has seen that kind of success, particularly with the price action that we've seen. Obviously, if it's right there, users are going to be attracted to it. They're going to want to get in on those gains. But I'm interested. But I think that Coinbase's revenue just skyrocketing like that, like kind of like I think gives you a better barometer of how many people are actually entering the space and actually like going whole hog into crypto, as it were. Whole hog, as it were.
As it were. Coinbase also, like, I think it's also important to know that, when a person onboards crypto for the first time, they bought it with their credit card on a centralized exchange. How their journey continues probably depends, at least in some part, on how much discovery is available on the platform, right? So with Robinhood, there's no discovery. You get it, and it's just, like you say, it's numbers on a screen. And I was reading, I don't know if this is correct, but like that it only has about 25 or something tokens. Like I would think it was more different crypto available on Robinhood, but I guess it's not. And coming from the non-custodial space, the decentralized space, where we know that there are literally hundreds of thousands of tokens in existence, it's kind of sobering to see. But Coinbase does a lot, as you say, Brian. They do allow offboarding into non-custodial wallets, including their own, and they do encourage, they have these earn programs, learn and earn, and all kinds of rhymed wonderful creations to get people to try and do new things. So it is also a very different experience in that sense, that once you onboard, there's more of a playground in there that can encourage you to go somewhere else with crypto besides just the numbers go up or down.
And speaking of going whole hog into crypto, we went whole hog into this episode. It was a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed our guest. Let us know on Twitter if we got anything right, if we got anything wrong, or what you thought of our guest. All of the links are in the show notes below. I hope you feel healthier for watching and listening to this podcast. You should, because you're also smarter and better looking at the same time. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and follow us on Spotify. Give us a like on YouTube. All that engagement stuff. Brian, Katya, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. See you next week.